Good evening, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a good night, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, without further ado, let's get into the news. If you think that it's hyperbole to state that Biden will resign or perhaps even get indicted or resign, have his resignation before any potential prosecution, I want to just read you a couple of things. Ask yourself, did you think that there would be a special counsel? Did you think that they would be writing or searching his homes? Did you think that Hunter would be on the brink of getting a plea deal or an indictment within the next couple of months or sooner? Did you think any of these things will take place? Did you think the Democratic Party Adam Schiff would say, "Oh, we condemn, not just Adam Schiff. It's Warnock and others"? Do you think they would condemn Biden? They're turning on this president. They don't want mashed potato brains going into 24? They want him to resign? Almost certainly. They want Vice President Harris to be president, and then exactly sure who would be the vice president. But I don't think they want a year and a half of impeachment proceedings to reveal all the corrupt, obvious graft and potential bribery schemes. I don't think they want that. Okay. They might want that. I'm just thinking out loud. I'm not predicting anything, although it's somewhat of a prediction, but it's not really like, oh, this is going to happen. I don't know. Right now. What's going to take place? All I can tell you is this is not normal. And they found classified data from his time as senator. The documents with classification marking span Biden's time in U.S. Senate and the vice presidency. This is PBS. FBI finds 6 more documents marked classified in search of Biden's home. Vice presidents can only declassify what they classified originally. They can't declassify what was classified from other agencies. So there's a yes, vice presidents have the authority to declassify documents. This is a CBS News article. Always immediate, always going to bat for the Democrats. It's always takes place that you never get, yes, the president can declassify because a president can declassify anything he wants to. This is Supreme Court precedent as commander-in-chief, and he could do so verbally, according to Politico. And so they say, well, okay, but a senator cannot. So they found Senate documents that were classified. That's game over. If you find Senate documents, ladies and gentlemen, they added a curveball. Okay, it's been fastball, 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 now it's the off-speed curveball slider, okay. They're throwing him the off-speed pitch. He can't even really hit the curveball anyway. And the fastball anyway, Biden. But here, then this article goes on to say, well, he can only. There is zero truth to the claim that vice presidents cannot declassify documents. No, there is truth to the claim. They can only classify documents. The quote, the authority to classify information originally may be exercised only by the president and vice president. There are 4 categories. Okay, explicitly named the vice president and one of the original classification authorities, which means they could declassify any information Veer office originally classified. And then it goes on? Well, as a matter of academic constitutional law, there may be a question of whether or not the vice president is in the chain of command that can declassify anything. But however, as a matter of practice, for at least 10 years white, if not much longer, it's been a long-standing practice in the executive branch to say that the vice president has delegated authority from the president and should be treated as is pretty much the same. I don't think President Obama gave Biden authority for anything, including withholding $1 billion. So that is possibly nonsense. He can't declassify as a senator anyway. So even if you wanted to make the argument, you can declassify anything as the vice president, they found Senate documents. That's the curveball. It's happening. And what do you want? It's happening. This is all like, there's either 2 scenarios here. The administration is crashing down before our very eyes, everything's crumbling, or it's a strategic exit. It's a DBS, strategic intimidation or exit of a president who probably doesn't even want to be there. Okay, there's a certain when you look at Fetterman and you look at Biden, there's only so much that a craving or desire for power and influence can get you. At a certain point, you probably have had enough. You've served your purpose and okay, Democrats want a more viable candidate going into 24. He could very well get indicted for the Senate documents. He had no power to declassify them. Now, Hillary siphoned classified data outside the United States government, onto servers. And then Comey said laws were broken, but no reasonable prosecutor would indict. They covered that up. And then some significant news. So I'm a little bit late to this story, maybe like a week and a couple of days, and there's a reason for that. I just couldn't get myself to watch it, but like I always say, I watch CNN, I watch all the woke movies and all the garbage, the woke trash, so you don't have to. I watch it for you and then I fill you in on what you're not missing. And boy, we've covered a whole lot of woke garbage over the years. And of course, the phenomenon of get woke go broke has spawned where you think that they would start to learn and start to move away from the woke trash, which frankly are fairly some companies, or even Netflix for instance, where you'd expect Hollywood to be moving away from the world garbage and realizing that it's bad for business, it's cringe and people don't want it in a certain way. It seems as though the opposite is happening. Every successive woke garbage piece seems to be worse than the last, almost as if they're trying to outdo themselves or trying to outwork each other. And this new TV series, Velma, a modern take on probably one of my favorite TV shows growing up, Scooby-Doo, and like usual, these woke clowns in Hollywood just have to ruin everything from my childhood. I've seen a lot of crap, a lot of cringe movies and terrible TV shows. This, I think, is the worst thing I have ever seen in my life. In fact, it's so bad that ironically enough, it's kind of uniting people in a very weird way. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that. Alright folks, so Velma, let's take a trip to Rotten Tomatoes, of course, with a focus on the audience score, and well, it speaks for itself. 6%, 6, and usually with woke garbage like this, you'll see a really high tomato meter score. Well, critics who will basically just pad the score, but even on the tomato meter score, it's at 50%. Of course, there's a bunch of clowns who are cheering it on because it's taking on the patriarchy. But even Velma is so bad that it can't get the woke cringe critics on board. That says a lot. Velma is the epitome of bad storytelling, of contrived woke garbage replacing the need for an interesting plot. I mean, in the first 5 seconds of the series, they make it very clear that this isn't just a regular animated show. No, this is feminist propaganda taking on the patriarchy. Literally the first 5 seconds, I'm not even kidding. That is the first 5 seconds of the first episode. My patriarchy, we're off to a great start. And of course, it just doesn't get better. The entire TV show is nothing but racial stereotypes. Nothing but the typical thing that we see out of Hollywood. Men are stupid brutes and women are so highly capable and intelligent, complex, special, and overlooked. But Velma takes it to the next level. Usually it'll just kinda be like a Homer Simpson type character. The father of the household is this stupid brute that everyone has to deal with? And of course we're used to that, but no, this is even worse because in this case, they bring in race to the equation. This is not a sarcastic parody headline. Fred has a tiny male genitalia and Daphne deals drugs in the new Velma show. You guys know Fred from Scooby-Doo, the metrosexual white male character? Well, in this series, they made him an arrogant, rich, privileged, thick-headed jock, and they wrote into the story that he has a small male genitalia. Yeah, exactly what you'd expect. I guess the whole TV series is nothing but promoting degenerate behavior, drug use, drug dealing, sexual acts. It's really important that they let you know that the main character is part of the LGBTQ community, and all the while the one consistent theme throughout the entire show is white men bad. Now maybe I lied a little bit and I said that I watched Velma. Say you didn't have to. I watched the first episode of Velma. So you didn't have to. And I couldn't continue. I mean, I couldn't subject myself to any more. I couldn't torture myself anymore. Mindy Kaling's new show Velma is the worst thing that has ever come out of Hollywood with this level of a production budget. There's some unwatchable trash, but in a lot of cases, it's created from an indie studio or it doesn't really have a production budget. And so it almost has an excuse. This is actually like a mainstream production that they were taking seriously. It's supposedly an adult comedy series, but not once did I laugh. Literally, not one time did I laugh. I mean, just to give you guys a little bit of a glimpse into the hilarious jokes in this series. Here's an example of the funniest part from episode 1, the funniest, best written joke. I think it has something to do with drugs, which I hate, drugs, which I hate, I guess. Implying that he likes drugs. Not exactly sure what the point of that joke was. I guess maybe another racial stereotype, but that is essentially the standard of humor and jokes or joke writing in the Velma TV series. What is that? I mean, honestly, what is that? Seriously? What am I watching? I actually don't understand. I'm expecting to see a ragtag crew with my favorite pals, Scooby-Doo solving mysteries and unmasking criminals. And this is what we get: drugs, which I hate, lesbian makeout sessions, even cockroach loving. I guess I could call it Mo rich, arrogant, talentless white guy with a micro-chode being a core component of the narrative. None of it makes sense. It is so frickin' bad. It's so bad, in fact, that it's kind of achieving the impossible. It's so bad that it's bringing people together. Yup. I mean that this TV series is so darn awful that it's bringing people left, right, and center across the political spectrum together to actually share a bipartisan moment. The left, at least a certain portion of the left, agrees with us that this is the worst TV show ever known to mankind. Well, kind of. There's also another interesting phenomenon that spawned Velma is so bad, in fact, that it's spawning conspiracy theories that the creator of Mindy Kaling made what is essentially a parody of what the right thinks left-wing comedy is like, as in a show that not just recast most roles with new races, but also features loads and loads of white guys, am I right jokes. The idea is that Kaling is secretly a conservative force in media trying to make the left look bad by making a cringy adult cartoon full of this rich white guy has a small dog jokes, and that the right can now point at it as everything wrong with race recasted social justice influenced media. Here's a little glimpse into the head conspiracy theory. The showrunner of Velma, Mindy Kaling, is both a transphobic and said that you couldn't make The Office today because of cancelled culture. She's a fellow reactionary. She deliberately made Velma suck so that culture war YouTubers would make 1 million videos about it to boost its SEO. Now that has to be some of the biggest cope you could imagine. Now, this isn't a satirical take on bad leftist humor. This is leftist humor. This is what left-wing woke Hollywood has become. And it's so bad that now even left droids are starting to cope and delve into conspiracy theories to justify this awful TV series. No. This is essentially the visual embodiment of the left can't meme, and I also think it's a sign for what's to come. Each one of these shows is an extra straw that is added to the camel's back. And one of those straws is going to break that back. It may not be this one, it may not be the next one. It may even take a decade, but eventually it's going to happen. And we are going to reverse course, do a complete cultural 180, because clearly nobody wants this crap, and that's what it is. It's crap. There's no other way to describe it. It's an absolute abomination of disaster, and I don't know who the hell at HBO Max is signing off on this stuff. But eventually they're going to learn their lesson, and that's going to stop. It's unsustainable in the that when even the woke left boys who love watching content that basically just reaffirms their ridiculous woke values aren't buying it anymore. And even the woke journalists who constantly prop up your garbage, even they, at least 50% of them. Let's be real. Even a good chunk of those 50% that did voted as being certified fresh or fresh on the tomato meter. Most of those people were probably paid. When you're losing the world critics and when you're losing the world crowd, well then you've gone too far and the pendulum is starting to swing. Thanks for joining us on today's episode of Open Source News. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a thing.